Hello everyone, and welcome to Anime Dreams, your destination for unique anime fanfiction and engaging discussions. Today, we're diving into part 3 of our original fanfic series, Naruko is a Black Shinobi. In this imaginative reimagining of the Naruto universe, we explore powerful themes, dynamic characters, and a bold new cultural twist on a beloved story. Disclaimer: this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in these videos. All rights and credits go to the original creators and copyright holders. Let's get into it. Sasuke stirred as he woke up, which was unusual this early in the morning. A savory aroma drifted through the air, pulling him from his sleep. He, Sakura, Tazuna, and the rest of the household rose from their beds and followed the scent to the kitchen. There, they found Naruko at the stove, preparing breakfast, while Zabuza and a quiet young woman were engaged in calm conversation. Sasuke immediately took a defensive stance, kunai in hand, while Sakura tensed beside him. Tazuna instinctively moved to shield his daughter and grandson. "Relax, everyone," Naruko said with a calm smile, glancing over her shoulder. "They're with us now. And so is the fox." "The fox?" Inari asked curiously. Naruko motioned to the side. Everyone followed her gesture and saw a small, fluffy fox cuddled next to Hitomi. Sakura melted at the sight of the adorable creatures snuggling together. Sasuke, however, remained focused on Zabuza. "What are they doing here?" Sasuke asked, narrowing his eyes. "I already told you, they're with us," Naruko replied simply. "That's right," Kakashi added, stepping in. "Their employer has been dealt with. They've decided to leave their former obligations behind." "But what about Gato?" Sakura asked. "Isn't he going to retaliate?" "Nope," Naruko replied, plating food for everyone. Well, let's just say he won't be bothering us." "You took care of him?" Tazuna asked, puzzled. "How is he not a problem anymore?" "Look up," Naruko said with a cheeky smile. Everyone looked toward the ceiling and spotted Gato suspended there, clearly unconscious and safely restrained. He stirred slightly, muffled by the material covering his mouth, then faded back into silence. "Why is he up there like that?" Tazuna asked, frowning. "Because he made life hard for your village," Naruko explained. "I figured it's only fair that the village decides how to handle him. Now, how about breakfast?" Naruko began setting plates on the table. Everyone gradually relaxed and sat down to eat, although Sasuke still cast cautious glances at Zabuza and the girl beside him. He couldn't help but notice how graceful she looked. "Is something on my face?" the girl asked politely, noticing his gaze. "Who are you, exactly?" Sasuke asked. "Haku Momochi," she responded with a soft smile. Sasuke nodded, recognizing the name. "I'm Sasuke Uchiha. Would you like to go out sometime?" "I appreciate the offer," Haku replied kindly, "but I don't know you well enough to accept." "We could change that," Sasuke offered. Zabuza leaned slightly forward, his voice calm but firm. "You'd better show her some respect. She's not here to entertain your whims." Sasuke went quiet but kept watching Haku, which didn't go unnoticed by Naruko. "Why does it bother me that he's looking at Haku like that?" Naruko thought to herself, then shook it off. Later that morning, Naruko carried the restrained Gato to the town square. She leapt to the top of a nearby structure and addressed the crowd. "Citizens of the Land of Waves," she called out, drawing attention. "I bring you news. Gato has been stopped, and you're free." "That can't be true," someone from the crowd called. "He was too powerful for any of us to face." Naruko calmly raised Gato for all to see. Still wrapped and subdued, he was met with stunned silence from the crowd. Then, emotions shifted. The people, once fearful, began to show expressions of hope and resolve. "He hasn't been harmed," Naruko said, "because I believe it's not my place to decide his fate. That choice belongs to you. You are the ones he hurt. Now it's your turn to decide what to do." She gently set Gato down before them and stepped back. The townspeople, now empowered, surrounded him, though nothing more was said about what happened afterward. By the following day, Gato had been handed over to the local authorities for formal justice, and news of the village's freedom spread quickly. Work on the bridge resumed with renewed energy. Sakura focused hard on her training and was making real progress. Sasuke trained as well, though he continued to take an interest in Haku. A few days later, Sasuke approached her again. "So, Haku," he said, "I was wondering if you could help me with something." "What is it?" Haku asked, sensing hesitation in his tone. Well, Sasuke began, I was hoping you could ask your mentor to train me. Also, I'm trying to restore my clan back home, and I thought maybe. That's enough, Sasuke, Haku interrupted gently but firmly. Sasuke blinked. What? You're asking me to pass along training secrets and to assist in personal matters I'm not comfortable with, she said. The answer is no. Frustrated, Sasuke reached toward her, but before he could say anything else, Naruko appeared beside them. Her eyes narrowed slightly as she gently but firmly intervened, placing herself between the two. That's not how we treat people, Sasuke, Naruko said calmly. Haku isn't obligated to help you with anything. She's a civilian, Sasuke muttered, trying to justify himself. Exactly, Naruko replied. And on missions, civilians have rights and protection. You're not in charge of her, and you don't get to make demands. Please be respectful. Sasuke, unsettled by Naruko's sudden presence and calm intensity, quietly backed off. Once he left, Haku turned to Naruko. You're Haku? She asked teasingly, a smile forming on her lips. Naruko blushed, suddenly flustered. She had grown fond of Haku over the past few days but hadn't yet found the courage to express it. Well. I mean, Naruko stammered. It's alright, Haku said with a gentle laugh. I like you too. Really? Naruko asked, eyes wide with hope. Then. Maybe when we get back to the village, would you like to go out for a walk or something? After all the paperwork and stuff is done? I'd love that, Haku replied with a warm smile. The date for their return had been set, and afterward, things settled into a calm routine. Sasuke didn't make another move regarding Haku. For the time being, he had other plans involving the village council upon their return to Konoha. A few days later, Naruko and her team stood just beyond the town, gazing at the newly completed, still unnamed bridge. The villagers gathered before them, smiling with deep gratitude. Kazuna, Tsunami, and Inari were at the front. Inari clung tightly to Naruko's leg, tears streaming down his cheeks. Do you really have to leave, big sister? Inari asked, sobbing softly. I'd stay if I could, Naruko said gently, patting his head. But I've got to return home. Be sure to take care of your mom and your grandpa, okay? Especially your grandpa. Kazuna let out a small groan at that comment, while Tsunami chuckled warmly. Take care, everyone, Naruko said as she, her team, and Sasuke began their walk back. Father, Tsunami asked, what will we name the bridge? Kazuna thought for a moment, then smiled. Let's name it after the person who gave us hope and freedom. How does that sound? The villagers burst into cheers of agreement. Very well then, Kazuna proclaimed. I hereby name it, the Great Naruko Bridge. The cheers grew louder. Back in Konoha. So, Kakashi, the Hokage, Lord Hiruzen, said with a raised brow, why have you returned with a former enemy and an unfamiliar companion? Thanks to traveling without any civilians, the group had made excellent time back to the village. Well, Kakashi replied, Zabuza and his daughter, Haku, wished to defect and join Konoha. Also, I have a few things to discuss privately concerning Naruko. Understood, Hiruzen said. Sakura, Sasuke, you're dismissed. I'm staying, Sasuke said firmly. Anything Naruko has to say, I can hear too. Sakura sighed, bonked him lightly on the head, and dragged him out by the collar. Well, that was unexpected, Hiruzen noted, glancing at the others. She got over her crush during the mission, Naruko explained. Probably for the best. The last thing I need is her mom blaming me for breaking her heart. Fair enough, the Hokage said. Now then, your mission report? It started off like any other, Kakashi began. We were ambushed by the demon brothers, but Naruko and I neutralized them quickly. That was when Naruko first revealed the power of one of her unique abilities to Sasuke and Sakura. After a group decision, we continued. Near Wave, we were attacked by Zabuza. Naruko fought him one-on-one and was holding her own until Haku stepped in to help him escape. Kakashi continued, recounting how Naruko discovered a summoning contract and how they later convinced Haku and Zabuza to stand against Gato. Under the cover of night, they launched an operation on Gato's compound with the help of Hitomi, encountering two dangerous opponents. Kakashi handed over scrolls containing the proof of their victory. Naruko had captured Gato and returned him to the town, where the villagers were able to take legal and peaceful recourse. Impressive, Hiruzen said, visibly impressed. I know, right? Naruko said with a grin. Just then, an Anbu appeared in a swirl of leaves. Pardon the interruption, Hokage-sama, but the council requests the presence of Team 7 and their guests. Oh great, Naruko muttered. Don't worry, Kakashi said, reassuringly. Stay composed, and we'll get through it. In the council chambers. Sakura and Sasuke were already present when they arrived. The Hokage took his place at the head. We wish to know why you've brought 2 former enemy ninja into our village, said a civilian council member. Kakashi answered, they've renounced their past and hope to contribute to Konoha. Zabuza can teach advanced sword techniques and silent movement. Haku brings with her unparalleled aim, detailed medical knowledge, and a rare ice-based bloodline. The shinobi council members showed interest immediately, noting the strategic value. A few civilians, however, focused more on potential political advantages. I propose we place the girl under the CRA or arrange her marriage to the Uchiha, one civilian said. I refuse, Haku responded respectfully but firmly. As do I, Zabuza added. Haku is not a tool to be used. There was a tense silence, broken when Sarutobi cleared his throat. We will not force anyone into such arrangements, he stated. Zabuza, you will be granted provisional status as a jounin under close observation. Haku will be offered a Jinan rank with training support. The council agreed to this compromise. Any other questions? Sarutobi asked. Yes, Hiashi Hyuga spoke. Naruko, what exactly were those abilities you demonstrated? Naruko smiled. The one I used earlier is part of what I call my prototype ability. I can reshape my arms into tools or weapons and even sense and absorb others' chakra signatures, though I use that only under controlled conditions. I can mimic their form temporarily if needed. Shikaku Nara, now awake, chimed in. And you said one of your abilities. What's the other? I call it Starborn, Naruko said. She lifted her hands and, with focus, the room trembled. Slowly, everyone in the room began to float, suspended gently in mid-air. Then, with a light thump, they settled back into their seats. Kakashi stepped forward and demonstrated his own lightning-based abilities. This one's called White Storm. Suits me, doesn't it? The council, now very alert, nodded in agreement. I assume you're preparing for the Chunin exams, Naruko? Hiruzen asked. Can I just get promoted now? She joked. Unfortunately not, Hiruzen said with a small smile. Rules are rules. But I do have something to tell you, about your parents. I already know, Naruko said calmly, surprising him. How? Hiruzen asked. I absorbed a shadow clone during my training, it held the memories you sealed away. There was a moment of stunned silence. Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, Tsume said in awe. Hiashi looked stricken. Minato asked me to protect his daughter, and she was right here all along? The Hokage offered a gentle nod. I'm sorry I kept the truth hidden. It was for her safety. Naruko nodded in understanding. I get it. But we need to prepare, if anyone from Iwa heard what happened at Gatos, they may come looking for me. We'll make the necessary precautions, Hiruzen promised. After the meeting. Go ahead without me, Naruko told her friends. Sasuke and I need a quick word. Once alone, she turned to him. Sasuke, what are you really fighting for? To avenge my family, he replied bluntly. Why? Did your brother ever tell you anything before he left? He said I lacked enough hate to defeat him. Naruko paused. You've got enough anger in you already. But has it helped? Sasuke didn't reply. Think about what Kakashi said, look beneath the surface. With that, she walked away, leaving Sasuke lost in thought. Later. Danzo approached Naruko with a few rude onbu. Namikaze-san, he said calmly, I have something I believe you'll want to see. What is it? She asked. Come with me and see for yourself. Trusting her instincts, Naruko followed him. He led her to an old building, into a hidden elevator, and deep underground into the root base. They arrived at a secure medical room. Inside, Naruko saw a woman resting in a hospital bed, pale-skinned with vivid red hair. Mother? Naruko whispered in astonishment. Naruko stood quietly, gazing at the red-haired woman resting peacefully in the medical bed before her. Naruko, Danzo said calmly, this is Kushina Uzumaki. Your mother. But how is she here? Naruko asked with a puzzled expression. I was told she passed away, along with my father. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what happened, Danzo explained. During her pregnancy, a few of my Rudanbu agents were assigned to protect her. But during your birth, she fell into a coma. Despite our efforts, no medical technique has been able to revive her. However, with your unique abilities, particularly your mental skills, there may be a chance you can help her awaken. Naruko nodded silently, placing a hand on her mother's forehead. As she concentrated, she sensed the lingering damage. Using her abilities, she helped mend what remained. Now came the difficult part, reaching her mind. Inside Kushina's mindscape. Naruko looked around. The scene resembled a quiet, empty prison, concrete walls, and scattered cells. Then, she heard soft crying. She followed the sound to find a small cell, where her mother sat curled into herself, weeping quietly. "My child," she whispered tearfully, "I'm so sorry. I hope you don't blame me." "Why would she?" Naruko asked, speaking in a slightly deeper voice. Kushina, still facing away, continued softly, "Because I wasn't there for her. Every year on her birthday, I could feel her loneliness. I could almost hear her tears. But I was helpless. I should have been by her side." "She doesn't blame you," Naruko said, using her ability to shift into gentle tendrils and phase through the bars. "She understands that you couldn't help it. You weren't gone by choice." "How do you know?" Kushina asked, still not turning around. "Because I am she," Naruko said, her voice now soft and natural. Kushina turned slowly, her tear-streaked face lifting to look at her daughter. She stared in disbelief. "My child?" she gasped. "Hi Mom," Naruko said with a warm smile. "My sweet girl." Kushina leapt up and pulled her daughter into a tight embrace, joyful tears flowing freely. "Oh, my dear," she whispered, "how are you even here?" "I'll explain everything," Naruko said gently. "But first, it's time to wake up. I'll see you in the real world." Back in the real world. Kushina's eyes fluttered open. She sat up slowly, glancing around until her gaze landed on Naruko, who gave her a cheerful, foxy grin. "Hey Mom," Naruko greeted. "My daughter," Kushina whispered with amazement. "Where am I?" "The root base," Naruko replied. "Danzo took care of you after the coma. He tried everything to help you wake up, but nothing worked until now." "Danzo, huh?" Kushina muttered. "Well, at least it's over now." "Not quite," Danzo interjected. "I've stepped down from operations. I now oversee the civilian branch of the council." "Wow," Kushina said, surprised. "You've been busy, haven't you?" "That's just the beginning," Naruko smiled. "Wait until you hear everything I've learned these past few months." Naruko shared stories of her new abilities and even told Kushina about Kakashi's training. Kushina was amazed, especially when she heard that Kakashi no longer used the Sharingan. She approved of that decision, knowing true strength comes from one's own growth. She did, however, frown when she heard about Sasuke. "Well," Kushina finally said, "it's late. You should get some rest." "What about you?" Naruko asked curiously. "I've been resting for over a decade," Kushina replied with a chuckle. "It's time I get back into shape." Hitomi barked, drawing Kushina's attention. She smiled and pet the little fox gently. "I'll leave Hitomi here to help while you regain your strength," Naruko said. "You good with that, Hitomi-chan?" "Yes, Naruko," Hitomi replied telepathically. "See you tomorrow, Mom," Naruko said before heading out. The next day. Naruko arrived at Team 7's training grounds. Sasuke and Sakura were already there, working through drills. As usual, Kakashi was nowhere in sight. "Hey everyone," Naruko called. "Hey, Naruko," Sakura said, smiling. "You seem in a good mood. Something happen?" "I met my mom yesterday," Naruko replied with a proud grin. "I thought you were an orphan," Sasuke muttered. "She was in a coma, not gone," Naruko explained. "And you're one to talk." Sasuke scoffed and walked over to sulk under a tree. Moments later, a burst of lightning signaled Kakashi's arrival. "Yo," he greeted lazily. "You're late again," Naruko said flatly. "Sorry," Kakashi replied. "Guy challenged me. I had to accept, but I decided not to use long-range techniques today, don't want to rely on them too much." "Smart," Naruko said. "Balance is important." "I actually have an announcement," Kakashi said. "You're going to stop being late?" Naruko asked playfully. "You're going to teach us something strong?" Sasuke guessed. "You're going to let us burn your books?" Sakura added. In order, no, no, and definitely not. Kakashi replied. The actual announcement is. You've all qualified for the Chunin exams. Awesome, Naruko beamed. I forgot those were coming up. To prepare, I've brought something for each of you, Kakashi said, pulling out chakra paper. He explained the function, how it reveals elemental affinities, burning for fire, dampening for water, turning to dust for earth, crumpling for lightning, and splitting for wind. Sasuke went first, the paper burned. Fire affinity, Kakashi nodded. Expected from your clan. Sakura's paper crumbled to dust. Earth. That explains your strong punches. Sakura smiled shyly. Naruko focused on hers, it split, crumpled, and caught fire. Wind, lightning, and fire, Kakashi noted. Incredible. Probably inherited from both sides of my family, Naruko said thoughtfully. Kakashi handed each of them 3 scrolls. Sakura received earth techniques, Sasuke got fire techniques, and Naruko was given a combination. He instructed them to practice until they mastered the techniques. They trained hard throughout the day. Later, while heading home, they stumbled upon a suspiciously shaped rock, with eye holes. Your camouflage could use work, Naruko said aloud. Ah! They found us. A voice inside cried. Smoke puffed out, revealing 3 young children. I'm Konohamaru, future Hokage, said the boy with the scarf. I'm Udon, the smartest in our class, said the boy with glasses. I'm Moegi, the cutest girl in the class, said the girl proudly. Wow, Naruko chuckled. That's quite the introduction. They asked for tips, and while Sasuke walked off, Naruko gave them a few kind words, though she declined to reveal her techniques. Konohamaru then noticed Sakura. Is she your girlfriend? Before Naruko could reply, a new voice chimed in. No, but that role belongs to me. It was Haku, now wearing a Chunin uniform. Konohamaru compared them, teasing Sakura's appearance, which earned him an angry glare. Oh no, he panicked. Gotta go. He bolted, with Sakura and the rest chasing him. Eventually, he ran into someone and fell back. A tall figure in a black outfit picked him up. You okay, kid? The person asked with a rough tone. Put him down, Naruko said firmly. And what if I don't? The figure, Kankuro, replied smugly. Without hesitation, Naruko appeared before him, gently twisted his arm, and caught Konohamaru as he dropped. Haku pulled the boy aside. Careful, said Tamari, the blonde nearby. He's not worth the trouble. Then a red-haired boy dropped from a tree. Gaara. Kankuro, Gaara said quietly, what are you doing? And nothing, Kankuro stuttered. Silence. Gaara turned to Naruko. What's your name? Naruko Uzumaki. Gaara studied her. You carry a presence. One that feels familiar. I understand, Naruko said. You're not the only one with a burden. Gaara smiled slightly. I look forward to seeing your strength. In the exams. As do I, Naruko said, calm and unshaken. Naruko was with Haku. The two were currently discussing Fluffy and Hitomi. I don't think them being together is the best idea, Haku said gently. Hitomi might accidentally knock him over without meaning to. I think there's a bigger concern, Naruko replied. People around here still have a hard time trusting foxes after everything that happened with the Kyuubi. They might treat him unfairly, especially if Hitomi isn't there to look out for him. What should we do? Haku asked, clearly worried for the small white fox. I've got an idea, Naruko said. Hey Fluffy, come here. The small white fox trotted over, followed by Hitomi. Listen, little one, Naruko said kindly, crouching down. I know a way to help you become stronger, maybe even strong enough to keep up with Hitomi-chan. Would you like that? The fox nodded enthusiastically. Naruko placed one hand on Haku's arm and the other on Fluffy's back. Using her special ability, she carefully drew a small trace of energy from Haku, not enough to hurt, just enough to identify the ice nature within her. She then transferred that energy gently into Fluffy. As the process began, Fluffy let out a soft growl, and slowly his form began to shift. He grew until he was Hitomi's size, his fur taking on a glimmering sheen of frost. Hitomi, Naruko said softly, could you show him your enhanced form so he can learn how to do it too? The red fox nodded and transformed into her empowered form. Fluffy watched carefully, then closed his eyes and focused. His body began to glow faintly, and his fur became covered in shimmering ice. Icy spikes formed along his back, and his tail took on a unique, segmented appearance like crystal scales. Hitomi chirped affectionately and nuzzled against Fluffy. The two then returned to their normal forms and bounded off, happily playing together. "Thank you, Naruko-chan," Haku said with a smile, giving her a gentle kiss on the cheek. Naruko blushed and replied, "No problem, Haku. Now come on, I want you to meet my mom." Later, when they met Kushina, the introduction was quite amusing. Kushina teasingly asked if Haku was Naruko's girlfriend, causing both girls to blush and laugh nervously. Kushina then gave them a gentle reminder to be mindful of their youth and focus on growing stronger before anything else. After the playful teasing, the three sat down to enjoy dinner together. The next day, Naruko, Hitomi, Sakura, and Sasuke stood in front of the academy. "I didn't think we'd be back here," Naruko said, adjusting the two normal swords strapped to her back. Her light swords were carefully hidden under her jacket. "Well, we're not becoming Chonin just standing here," Sakura said with a confident smile. The team, accompanied by Hitomi, entered the building and began heading upstairs. On their way up, they noticed a group of ninjas standing in the hallway in front of a door. "Why won't you let us in? That's not fair," came a familiar voice. "We're doing you a favor, little girl," said one of the Chonin at the door. "This isn't for beginners." "Yeah," added another, "you're just not ready yet." Naruko narrowed her eyes. She could sense something was off, an illusion was being cast here. "This is just a trick," said a calm voice. "We're still on the second floor. Drop the genjutsu already." "You weren't supposed to say that out loud," Naruko sighed, shaking her head. "That was supposed to weed out unsure participants. Now they'll just make it harder for the rest of us." "Naruko." Tenten called out as she ran up and hugged her. "Hey, Tenten," Naruko greeted her with a smile. "How's training going with your team?" "It's been interesting," Tenten chuckled. "I see you're taking the exam too?" "Yep," Naruko said, arms crossed. "But don't expect me to go easy on you just because we're friends." "I wouldn't have it any other way," Tenten replied, mirroring her stance. "Naruko." Lee called. "During the exams, I wish for a rematch. This time, I will." "Lee, maybe try keeping it down indoors," Naruko said gently. "You're right, Naruko-san," Lee said, catching himself. "It is not very polite to shout in these halls." Tenten and Neji exchanged amused glances. "Why didn't we think of that?" they thought. "Well, since we're all headed the same way, let's go together," Sakura said. The group moved toward the third floor, only to be intercepted by Guy and Kakashi. "Ah, good, you're all here," Kakashi said, his ever-present mask hiding his smile. "Yes, my youth." "Sensei," Lee interrupted. "It is unyouthful to shout indoors. And also when the person is standing right in front of you," Naruko added with a grin. "Apologies," Guy said more softly. "Good luck, all of you," Kakashi said, his tone serious now. "And just know, if any of you do something that reflects poorly on me as your sensei, I'll have you running laps around Konoha wearing weights." Sasuke and Sakura paled, while Naruko remained calm. "Thanks, Kakashi," Naruko said with a playful smirk. "Now if only we could get you to stop reading that orange book in public." Kakashi's sweat dropped and vanished with a teleportation jutsu, followed by Guy. Inside the exam room, they were met with a sea of other ninja. "Whoa," Naruko said. "That's a lot of ninja." "Wait, is the plural ninja or ninjas?" "Ninja," Sakura answered. Just then, a familiar voice chimed in. "So, you guys are here too? What a drag," Shikamaru said, standing with Kuji and Ino. "Looks like the whole class showed up," said Kiba, arriving with Akamaru, Shino, and Hinata. "Hey there, dog boy," Naruko said playfully. "Hey, red eyes," Kiba countered with a grin. Hello, and Naruko-chan," Hinata said softly. "Hey Hinata." "Hey, Shino," Naruko replied kindly. "Naruko," Shino said in his usual calm voice. Ino stepped forward, smirking. "Still thinking you've got a shot at Sasuke-kun, forehead?" Sakura smiled. "Hey, Ino. I'm doing well. How about you?" Ino blinked, surprised by the calm response. "They're not arguing over him anymore?" Kiba asked. "Who are you and what did you do with Sakura?" "I'm still me," Sakura said with a wink. "Long story, I'll explain later." "Naruko, meanwhile, was watching the room carefully. Some of the other village teams were already eyeing them. "Guys, we should keep a low profile," Naruko said. "Wise advice," came a new voice. A silver-haired boy with glasses stepped forward. "Name's Kabuto. You really don't want to stand out here." "Not your first time?" Shikamaru guessed. "Seventh, actually," Kabuto said casually. "You must be learning a lot then," Naruko said, staying polite but cautious. Kabuto offered info cards on various participants. When asked, he shared details about Lee, Neji, and Tenten, confirming their team dynamics and specialties. He then explained about Tamari, Kankuro, and Gaara, siblings from the Sand Village. Naruko made a light-hearted joke when hearing about Kankuro being a puppet master, though she kept her tone friendly. When Kabuto pulled up a card about Naruko herself, she noticed how detailed it was, including confidential information from previous missions. Concerned, she took the card and ignited it with a controlled flame chakra. "Be careful, Kabuto," she said calmly but firmly. "These cards seem a bit too informed." Kabuto gulped, clearly intimidated. At that moment, Naruko sensed something off. 3 unknown ninja were approaching. One had bandages covering his body, another had spiky hair, and the third, a girl, had long black hair. The bandaged one lunged first, but Naruko swiftly stepped aside and calmly blocked his arm. The spiky-haired one tossed a kunai, which Naruko ducked, before catching and redirecting a punch. As the third one began to move, Naruko quickly drew her black swords and held them in a defensive X shape near her. "I suggest we all stay calm," Naruko said in a composed, warning tone. "This isn't the place for surprises." Everyone stared in awe at the incredible power Naruko displayed. The Konoha 12 weren't surprised by the strength she possessed. Gaara watched with curiosity. He was about to take action when his mother called out, warning him to stay put. "Mother is concerned about her," he whispered. Tamari and Kankuro exchanged glances, visibly unsettled by the weight of those words. The moment of silence was interrupted by a sudden burst of smoke. As it cleared, a tall figure emerged, broad-shouldered, wearing a black trench coat and a bandana over his head. "All right, listen up," he announced loudly. Everyone turned their attention to him as he continued in a firm but controlled tone. "I'm Iviki Morino, the proctor for the first exam. You all need to settle down, or you risk being disqualified." "Apologies," a participant said as he stood up. "My teammates and I tend to get a little enthusiastic during moments like this." "Enthusiastic, sure," Naruko muttered softly. "Now head inside and find your assigned seats," Iviki instructed. One by one, the participants entered the exam hall. The Chunin exams had officially begun. "All right, everyone," the proctor announced firmly, "my name is Iviki Morino, and I will be overseeing the first stage of the Chunin exams." The Genin sat quietly at their assigned desks, focused and alert, eager to find out what awaited them. "The first part, as some of you may have guessed, is a written exam," Iviki continued. "You'll have 50 minutes to answer the questions. In the final 10 minutes, you'll receive a bonus question. This question will determine whether or not you pass. If even one member of your team is disqualified, the entire team will be removed from the exams. Is that clear?" All the Genin nodded in unison. "Good," Iviki said with a stern expression. "Let's begin." Meanwhile, in the Jonin lounge. "So what inspired the new look, Kakashi?" Kurenai asked, curiously eyeing her longtime colleague. The Jonin had gathered in the lounge, waiting for the first exam to conclude. "I've been through a few changes," Kakashi replied. "And I decided to retire the Sharingan." "I noticed," Kurenai said, observing that both his eyes now appeared normal. "Whatever the reason," Anko added playfully, "it suits you." Kakashi responded with a wink, causing the purple-haired Kunoichi to giggle. "Hey, everyone!" Asuma called out, waving a book. "Naruko's in the bingo book." "She is?" Hayate asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah, listen to this," Asuma said, flipping to the page. "Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, also known as the Black Star. Abilities include exceptional strength and stamina. She can morph her arms into various weapon forms, claws, swords, a whip-like fist, massive fists, and more. Avoid direct contact, her abilities are unique. She can emit lightning from her hands without hand signs and displays signs of telekinetic control. She wields 2 energy-based blades capable of cutting through nearly anything. She also partners with a red fox companion the size of a wolf, which can transform under duress. Additionally, she has shown rapid healing abilities, recovering from injuries at incredible speed. Everyone stared in stunned silence. Even Kakashi remained quiet until he eventually broke it. "Looks like someone from the last mission is doing quite well," he said. "Last mission?" Anko asked, intrigued. "It was a base infiltration," Kakashi explained. "Naruko's abilities were invaluable, along with some new techniques I've developed." "And what might those be?" Guy asked in a neutral tone. "I'd rather save the surprises," Kakashi said with a smile. Asuma tried to read more, but Kakashi quickly took the book back, lit a match, and dropped it onto the book. He calmly stamped out the flame. Back in the exam room. The written test was in full swing. Some Jinan were managing well, but others were struggling to understand the questions. When anyone was caught cheating, their whole team was escorted out. Slowly, the number of participants dwindled. The Konoha 12 and the ninja from Suna, however, were still in the game. Sasuke used his Sharingan to subtly copy the pencil movements of the Jinan in front of him. It worked surprisingly well. Sakura, being well prepared, answered the questions without any trouble. Naruko used a subtle sensory technique to nudge the thoughts of the person beside her, drawing out the answers mentally. She figured it was more polite than other options. Ino temporarily switched minds with Sakura, memorizing her answers before writing them down in her own body. Shikamaru used his shadow possession technique to control Kuji's hand, letting his teammate write down the correct responses. Hinata activated her Byakugan to view the answers of the student behind her. Kiba relied on Akamaru, who sat atop his head and barked quietly to communicate answers based on what he saw from the person in front. Shino used a small insect to peek at neighboring test papers and relay the answers back to him. Neji used his Byakugan similarly to Hinata. Kenten employed an intricate system of nearly invisible wires to position mirrors overhead, reflecting answers to Lee. Lee, in turn, used his headband's angle to see them. Gaara created a third eye using sand, while also gently nudging a nearby competitor to close their eyes momentarily. He then copied the answers. Tamari didn't need to cheat, she was confident in her preparation. Kankuro used a disguised puppet to scan answers. While the puppet excused itself to the restroom, it relayed everything to the real Kankuro, who later returned to complete the test. After some time, Ibiki raised his voice. "All right, everyone," he said in a commanding tone. "It's time for the final question." Every Jinan in the room snapped to attention. "This final question will determine whether you proceed," Ibiki explained. "However, if you answer incorrectly, you will not be permitted to take this exam in this village again." A wave of unease passed through the room. Many began to feel nervous, though not all. "I don't think it's that serious," Naruko said casually, raising her hand. Ibiki gave her a hard look. "You seem confident. Are you sure you're ready for this?" "Are you trying to test my nerves, Proctor-san?" Naruko responded with a calm smile. Ibiki blinked and gave a faint sigh, clearly caught off guard by her composure. Back in the lounge. The Jonin were chuckling among themselves. "That girl is something else," Asuma laughed. Only Naruko would say something like that to Ibiki. "Classic Naruko," Kakashi said with a light smile. Ibiki was currently locked in a silent but intense staring contest with Naruko. This was nothing new, it had been going on ever since Naruko had made a comment that left Ibiki visibly irritated. "All right then," Ibiki said, ending the contest with a sigh, "those of you who want to skip the final question may leave now, along with your teams. Those who wish to continue, remain seated." A few teams raised their hands and exited the room quietly. Sakura was just about to raise her hand too. She was brave, but even she had to admit, Ibiki was intimidating. Naruko noticed her hesitation and subtly gestured, causing Sakura to reconsider. "Very well," Ibiki continued as the last of the teams exited. "To those of you who remained, congratulations. You pass." Everyone stared blankly, once, twice, 3 times, before someone finally broke the silence. Could you repeat that?" a random participant asked, clearly confused. Ibiki smirked. "The point of this exam was to evaluate your ability to gather information under pressure, to see whether you could work smartly, even if that meant bending the rules without getting caught." "What about the 10th question?" Tamari asked, raising an eyebrow. "There was no 10th question," Ibiki replied smoothly. "The last part was simply to test your resolve and mental resilience." "The pressure of interrogation," Naruko added with a knowing smile. "Exactly," Ibiki said, nodding as he reached up to remove his forehead protector. When he took it off, the room collectively gasped at the sight of the many old marks and indentations across his scalp. "That's why they call him Scarface," Naruko muttered softly. Iviki's voice took on a solemn tone. "No matter the pressure. Never give in. Protect your team's secrets and stay strong. Now, those of you who have passed." Before he could finish, the wall suddenly burst open as a large black object crashed through. It unfolded to reveal a banner that read, "Introducing the second exam proctor, the unbelievably bold and single, Anko Mitarashi." A puff of smoke appeared, and when it cleared, a vibrant woman stood at the center. She had lavender hair styled in a pineapple-like ponytail and wore a mesh shirt beneath a tan trench coat, paired with a short orange skirt and shin guards. Most of the boys stared in awe. Naruko, who had a firm sense of herself, simply looked unimpressed. "You're early, Anko," Iviki commented dryly, unimpressed by the flashy entrance. "No, you're just slow," she teased with a grin before scanning the room. Still quite a few left. Getting soft, Iviki?" "We've got a solid group this year," Iviki replied evenly. "Well, we'll see how long that lasts," Anko said with a smirk. "By the time I'm done with them, this number will be sliced in half." She then addressed the group, "Now follow me to the next location, little trainees." Everyone filed out, following the eccentric proctor. After a short walk, they arrived at a gated forest surrounded by fencing and warning signs that read, "Restricted area, enter at your own risk." "Call it a hunch," Naruko said, "but I don't think we're supposed to go in there." "What gave you that idea?" Sakura responded sarcastically. "Welcome to Training Ground 44, Anko announced. Also known as the Forest of Challenges." "Sounds exciting," Naruko said, earning a few confused glances. "This place is full of wild creatures and surprises," Anko continued. "It's meant to test every aspect of your survival skills. So if you're not ready, it'll show." "I'm ready," Naruko replied with confidence. "A few bushes and bugs don't scare me." Anko grinned mischievously and, without warning, threw a kunai. Naruko leaned to the side, letting it pass. In the blink of an eye, Anko was behind her, gently pulling her into a playful headlock, though not forceful, just enough to test her reactions. "Still feeling confident?" Anko asked with a teasing tone. Before Naruko could reply, a large red fox appeared behind Anko and gently tugged her away by the waist using its fluffy tail. "Good girl, Hitomi-chan," Naruko said, petting the creature affectionately. Help?" Anko called before Hitomi calmly set her down. The Jonin brushed herself off. "Now, where was I? Right. Each team will receive either a heaven or earth scroll. Your task is to obtain the opposite scroll and reach the tower at the center of the forest. You'll have 5 days. Any questions?" The group shook their heads. "Oh, and one more thing," she added with a smile. "Stay safe out there." With that, everyone made their way to the tents to receive their scrolls. Naruko noticed that they couldn't see which scroll the others had received. "So we won't know who has what. That makes things tricky," she thought. "I could use my sensory skills to figure it out. But there are strong presences nearby. Better to stay subtle." Unbeknownst to her, someone was watching from the shadows. "So that's the one they call the Black Star. Doesn't look like much. Let's see if she lives up to the rumors." After receiving their heaven scroll, Naruko and her team headed to their designated gate. Anko's voice rang out, "The second phase of the Chunin exams has officially begun." With that, the gates opened and the teams dashed into the forest. After a few minutes of running, Team 7, plus Hitomi, paused in a clearing. "All right," Naruko said, "anyone got a strategy?" "We should locate another team and try to obtain the scroll we need," Sasuke suggested. "Any ideas that are a bit more developed?" Naruko asked, prompting Sakura to chuckle. "I'll try to think of something," Sakura added after a moment. "In the meantime, nature calls," Naruko said with a grin before walking off a short distance. While alone, she sent out a sensory pulse to detect hidden chakra signatures, 3 unfamiliar ones nearby. She sighed and quietly communicated, "Hitomi, we've got company. Can you handle it?" "Absolutely," the fox responded. Naruko finished up and turned toward the presence behind her. "You know it's kind of rude to sneak up on someone," she said calmly, folding her arms. A raspy voice answered. "Not bad. You live up to the rumors, Black Star of Konoha." "The Black Star?" Naruko repeated, tapping into her awareness to pinpoint the speaker. "Guess it's time I showed why I earned that nickname." She concentrated and used her energy to gently lift the hidden figure from his perch. A surprised grunt echoed as he was pulled out, a boy in a yellow jumpsuit with a Rain Village forehead protector. Later, Naruko said simply, as she sent him gliding through the trees with a burst of force. Meanwhile, Sasuke, Sakura, and Hitomi had already encountered two more individuals. Hitomi, in a burst of protective instinct, transformed into her larger form. The sonic roar she released disoriented the two ninja. One was knocked aside by Hitomi's charging form, while the other was momentarily trapped by a sticky web-like blast. Just as the third intruder flew through the air and landed near the others, he looked up to see Team 7 standing calmly, with Hitomi now settled back to her usual self. The ambush had been handled with precision, teamwork, and a touch of unpredictability, just the way Naruko liked it. The Rain Ninja scrambled backward, trying to crawl away, but halted when he bumped into Naruko. He looked up with wide, frightened eyes. Naruko gently stepped forward, her expression calm but firm. "Sorry you had to see that," Naruko said to her teammates. "Did you check if they had the scroll we need?" Sakura cautiously approached the Rain Ninja and checked his pouch. She pulled out an earth scroll. "Well, that was surprisingly easy," the pink-haired girl said. "Now we just have to find the tower." "Right," Naruko replied. "Any idea where it is?" Sakura pointed behind her. Naruko turned and blinked in surprise. A large neon sign stood tall among the trees, with a bright arrow and the words, "The tower is this way, friend." Silence followed. "How did we miss that?" Naruko asked aloud. Sasuke gave a small shrug. Team 7, along with Hitomi, followed the arrow's direction and dashed toward the tower. Meanwhile, outside the forest, Anko was lounging on a tree branch, enjoying a stick of dengo, when two Chunin approached her. "Anko," one of them called, "we found something you might want to see." "Make it quick," the purple-haired Jounin replied. "I'm in the middle of my snack." The Chunin led her to a clearing. There, a group of grass ninja lay unconscious, clearly the result of a powerful technique. Several other Chunin and a few Onbu stood nearby, examining the scene. "There's no mistaking it," Anko thought. "That's his technique." "Okay," Anko said out loud, "he hasn't been here in a long time. As long as he doesn't know where the tower is, we should be okay. Right?" Actually," one Chunin said hesitantly, "we might have forgotten to remove the giant neon sign." Anko stared at them. "Whose idea was it to leave that responsibility with you?" "I assigned it to him," said another, "he's my cousin." Anko turned to an Onbu with a wolf mask. "Who is this guy?" Well, his name's Takata Idiot," the Onbu replied. "And the other?" "John Idiot, ma'am." Anko blinked. "How many idiots do we have here?" "Yo!" echoed a chorus of voices around her. "I knew it," Anko muttered. "I'm surrounded by them. All right, stay here, team. I've got a little tracking to do." With that, the special Jounin vanished in a puff of smoke. Back in the Forest of Death, Team 7 was making good progress. Hitomi, now back to her regular self, kept pace easily on the forest floor, guided by her heightened senses and familiarity with her teammates' presence. Suddenly, Naruko came to a halt. "Naruko, what's wrong?" Sakura asked. "We're not alone," Naruko replied, scanning the area. A powerful gust of wind burst from nowhere. Sakura and Sasuke sensed the shift in chakra and moved just in time. Naruko was caught off guard and flung through the trees. A laugh echoed. "Kukukaku." Sakura and Sasuke looked up to see a grass kunoichi standing nearby, smirking. "Now that she's out of the way," she said, "let's continue." Elsewhere, a massive tree with a large dent in its side suddenly burst outward, wood and leaves flying. From the smoke stepped a figure, Naruko. Her body shimmered for a moment before the energy surrounding her faded. She winced and stretched. "Ouch, that one was tough," Naruko murmured. "That enhanced form takes a lot of energy." Before she could fully regain her bearings, she sensed another presence. Turning, she saw a giant gray serpent looming above her. Its eyes were locked on her like a predator eyeing a snack. Naruko's expression steeled. The serpent lunged. Naruko flipped out of the way and extended her hand. A burst of radiant energy shot from her palm, striking the snake midair. She leapt onto its back, summoned her glowing blades, and ran up its body in one swift, graceful motion, cutting a path through the energy form of the creature. As the creature faded, Naruko landed and brushed off her cloak. I really need a break from forest creatures, she sighed. She extended her awareness and located her teammates, now engaged with the grass kunoichi. Something about their opponent felt off. Too strong. Too controlled. This needs a closer look, Naruko said, taking off through the trees. Back with the team. Ah! Sasuke cried out, holding his shoulder. The kunoichi had made contact and left a strange mark that now shimmered on his skin. What did you do to him? Sakura shouted, rushing to Sasuke's side. I gave him a little reminder, the kunoichi said with a cryptic smile. One day, he'll come looking for me. Hey, over here. A voice rang out. The kunoichi turned, only to be hit by a force that launched her backward through the air, crashing into a nearby tree. She slowly stood, her features shifting to reveal a pale face and eerie yellow eye. Naruko stood poised on a branch, both of her light swords humming softly. So that snake wasn't just a coincidence, Naruko said, her expression calm. You're sharper than most, the disguised ninja replied. Now let's see what the black star is really made of. But first, I need a better look. With that, the figure peeled off the illusion, revealing her true face. Alright, time to dance, Naruko said, readying her weapons. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now, thanks for being part of this journey. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more anime magic. Your support means the world to me. With love. Anime Dreams.